Senior Hamas terrorist pressures Sinwar to end the war. Let's get an extensive picture of the situation in the Gaza Strip. The IDF is conducting a maneuver against the last 3 battalions of Hamas. Videos of the kidnapped female soldiers on mattresses with a picture of Hania were published. New documentation of the female observers of the IDF kidnapped by the terrorists of Hamas on October 7 and were held captive in Gaza. In Lebanon, a rapid closing of the circle. A Hezbollah terrorist squad fired at Israel and it was eliminated shortly after. And the IDF is on the way. You are next. The direct threat to Hassan Nasrallah. Let's dive into the details. I'm Yair Pinto, and this is your boots on the ground report about what is happening in Israel on this 285th day of the war against Hamas, Hezbollah, Iran, and all of its terrorist proxies in Yemen, Iraq, and Syria. In the last 24 hours, IDF forces struck Hamas positions inside UNRWA's An-Nazirat school in the Nazirat region. The strikes were carried out at the direction of IDF Southern Command with intelligence support from the Shin Bet. Prior to these strikes, many measures were taken to reduce the chance of harm to civilians, including aerial inspections, the use of precision weaponry, and additional intelligence. The terrorist organization Hamas regularly violates international law while systematically exploiting civilian buildings and the civilian population as human shields for their purposes. Despite their resorting to these desperate tactics, most of the Hamas battalions in the Gaza Strip have sustained severe damage from Israel's ground maneuver and subsequent raids, which are ongoing. But there are 3 remaining Hamas battalions that the IDF has not fully engaged yet, and their ability to carry out organized operations is believed to still be quite high. These battalions are deployed between southern Khan Yunis and Rafah, as well as the cities of Deir el-Balah and Nusirat. The IDF is considering plans to move against these 3 battalions later, but according to the latest IDF intelligence assessments, Hamas has suffered heavy losses among its senior leadership. This includes 6 brigade commanders, at least 20 battalion commanders, and around 150 company commanders. These are the most highly trained and capable terrorists Hamas had, but they won't be attacking Israel anymore. At this point, some might wonder about these Hamas battalions, since we've previously reported that there are only 4 Hamas battalions still intact in Rafah. This remains the case, and these battalions are still fighting, but they've sustained heavy damage from the battles that the IDF waged against them over the past 2 months. The IDF is now focusing its efforts on the divisional operation in Rafah in the Tel El Sultan battalion, the last of the 4 being confronted. The massive operation of Division 162 in Rafah is expected to end soon, and then the model of repeated raids will continue. According to the IDF, these raids result in a dramatic deepening of damage to Hamas capabilities. For example, the IDF assessments at the beginning of the conflict pointed to a very strong Hamas battalion being deployed in the Sajaya neighborhood of Gaza City. This battalion included approximately 1,235 fighters, but the latest assessments show that only 435 of them remain capable of continued combat following the ground maneuver in November and December. In addition, this battalion is estimated to have lost as much as 80% of its combat equipment. It was these poorly armed and equipped remnants that tried to reorganize themselves into an effective combat force in Sajaya in the spring. And this required the IDF to send the paratroopers, the 98th Division with the 7th Brigade Armored Corps, back into this area last month to root them out. 7 tunnels were discovered and demolished in the early stages of this raid, and this is an example of the increasing efficiency shown by the combat engineers in finding the underground bunkers and tunnels. As I've mentioned before, the knowledge and experience our combat engineers have gained in this war will be shared with our partners and allies. The method and tactics for fighting underground warfare that have been developed include the use of robots equipped with drilling and digging equipment. Some of these robotic tools were improvised by troops in the field using simple tools, while others were a result of research and development by Israeli experts from the industry and the academy. With the help of civilian companies and agencies that work in the field of construction and engineering, the IDF has developed methods for demolishing these tunnels quickly, using around 12 tons of explosives for a kilometer of underground tunnel. This takes about 10 hours from the time the preparations for the demolishing of the tunnels begin to the time it is destroyed. This can be compared to the procedures which were in place at the beginning of this conflict, when the same demolition operation could last for several days. An IDF statement about the fighting said that Hamas has returned to producing anti-aircraft missiles, including explosive drones, and re-establishing itself in the designated safe zones. We search for them there frequently with the methods we have developed, with precise raids and shooting squads. The level of Hamas rocket launch has dropped to what we saw in 2007, with a few terrorists who hastily open missiles in an open area and shoot, and in a short time we find and eliminate them. Regarding the issue of the Philadelphia corridor, the IDF makes it clear that it is not correct to look at it only as a narrow strip of land along its 14 kilometers. It is a massively complicated system of above and below ground corridors through which Hamas and criminal networks try to smuggle weapons, ammunition, and all kinds of other contraband. Although great progress has been made in Rafah, there is still much work that needs to be done. Here at TBN Israel, we will continue to report the truth. And today, let me introduce you to the sponsor of this video, Artza Box. You can stand with Israel by subscribing to Artza Box at www.artzabox.com and receive beautiful, handcrafted products that brings the essence of the Holy Land. Artza allows you to support Israel's economy and savor the diverse flavors, scents, and craftsmanship of the Holy Land of the Bible. So go to artzabox.com and enter the code TBNIL to receive an exclusive 10% discount on your Artza Box subscription. Thank you. Now back to the news. On Tuesday, the Israeli public got new information about some of the female IDF soldiers who have been held as hostages in the Gaza Strip since they've been kidnapped on October 7th. These soldiers had been deployed in the Gaza border region with specialized training to observe the feeds from surveillance cameras mounted on observation balloons and other platforms along the border. Again, several of them were kidnapped on October 7th, and on Tuesday, we learned some things about their condition as their families approved the release of still shots from videos that have been captured by the IDF in the Gaza Strip. The videos, which appear to have been recorded just a few days after October 7th, show some of these young women with injuries sitting on mattresses on the floor of an apartment building in the Gaza Strip, which is decorated with large photos of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh. Nonetheless, the person taking the video asked them to identify themselves and then give a thumbs up to indicate that they are doing fine and all is well. IDF spokesman Rear Admiral Daniel Agari was interviewed Tuesday evening by the Saudi-owned Al Arabiya network a few hours after the publication of the photos. "I want to share this photo with you that we found in the Gaza Strip," Agari told the interviewer. Young women in pajamas. Behind them is a photo of Haniyeh. The movement of Haniyeh, Mashal, and Sinwar kidnaps young girls in pajamas, and they are the ones who cause suffering to the residents of the Gaza Strip. Agari also referred to the cover-up of senior officials in the military wing of Hamas, contrary to the organization's denials. Yesterday, I heard Muhammad Nasser, a senior Hamas official, on your broadcast while he is lying, said Agari. Rafah Salma was neutralized. I confirm this to you. He and Def were together. Hamas is hiding Def's fate. I will tell you something else. 2 weeks ago, we attacked other Hamas leaders in Gaza City, and Hamas is hiding what happened to them. Anyone who took part in October 7th will be found. As we did in Khan Yunis against Salma and Def, we will do against everyone who is responsible for the attack in October. If they want to stop the suffering that they are causing the residents of the Gaza Strip, they must release the hostages. Speaking of the hostages, Israeli and American intelligence officials believe that Yahya Sinwar, who has the power to decide if there will be a deal to release them, is hiding in the tunnels underneath the Khan Yunis area. This makes it difficult for Israel to convey messages to him regarding the negotiations over the release of the remaining hostages. However, there are indications that those who are close to Sinwar have had enough of this war and are pressuring him to agree to a deal that will result in a ceasefire. CIA Director Bill Burns, who has been directly involved in the negotiations with Hamas, said as recently as this past Saturday that militia commanders under Sinwar are telling him that the time for a ceasefire has come. But again, Sinwar is hiding in these tunnels, and trying to find him to get the message to him or carry a message from him outside is a complicated process which is slowing down the negotiation. A senior source recently told CNN that there are still difficult issues that need to be resolved, and another source claimed that there is still a long time ahead of us. So please, now more than ever, subscribe to this YouTube channel and share our videos with anyone who wants to know the truth. And if you want to receive additional videos like this one, please consider making a financial donation by going to our website at www.tbn.org/Israel or click the donate button here on YouTube. Switching our focus to the northern arena, the Israeli Air Force continues to launch strikes on Hezbollah targets in Lebanon, while Hezbollah has launched several large barrages of rockets into Israel. In the last 24 hours, Israeli Air Force jets struck a rocket launcher in the Blat region shortly after that launcher fired a salvo of rockets towards Kiryat Shmona, an Israeli city in the northern border with Lebanon. Air Force strikes were also reported on Hezbollah positions in the Yair region in southern Lebanon. Hezbollah admits that 2 of its operatives were eliminated by these strikes. An IDF spokesman said that following the alerts that were activated in the Galilee area in the last few hours, about 40 missiles were detected that crossed the territory from Lebanon into Israel, and some of them were intercepted, and there were no casualties amongst the Israelis. However, although few Israelis have been killed by more than 5,000 rockets that Hezbollah has fired into the country since this war began, there has been massive damage. The Keren Kayemet Israel Jewish National Fund reported recently that over 5,000 acres of forest in the Galilee have been burnt up by these fires that started by rockets from Hezbollah. That's compared to 300 acres which burn in a typical year when there's no war going on. Tens of millions of dollars in damage has also been done to homes, schools, offices, roads, and other civilian infrastructure. Here at TBN Israel, we will continue to update you on this subject. So please continue to spread the truth, share and follow us, and subscribe to this YouTube channel. And the most important thing that you can do is pray. We need your help in prayer for the IDF soldiers, for the civilians that are affected by this conflict. Guys, this is a spiritual war, so we need to fight it with spiritual means. And that means lots of praying and intercession for Israel and for God to win in this region against this evil. So thank you, and keep praying for the peace of Jerusalem.
Hello, this is Mati here in Jerusalem with TBN Israel.
This is Yair Pinto from TBN Israel here in Jerusalem. TBN Israel is keeping viewers informed with Israel-focused news, culture, and what God is doing in this land.
Support TBN Israel today online at tbn.org/Israel. Thank you.